want answers.
I want the truth.
All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. I've got little homeopathics in my mouth right now. Sorry. Hello and welcome, everybody, to the Real Lies podcast. I am your host, Georgina Grace. Today, I am joined by such a freaking epically beautiful human being questionable, Dr. Val Rytova. Thank you so much for joining the show today, Val. You are a ruling number, a life path number 38112. Super exciting because we haven't had a 38112 on the show before. And, you know, you are your own specific flavor of 112.
Species. I'm a species.
You are a species, definitely. So look, the 38112, yes, you come with all of that beautiful 112 energy, which is the like ridiculously powerful psychic ability, right? Every number has the capacity to be psychic, but these energies are the psychics. You're definitely not from planet Earth, right? That is just such a given. You're absolutely not from here. You came here to study humans, but you are not one of them. And the 38 is such a beautiful combination because it's someone who is a truth reader, right? You're a channeler, but authenticity is like it runs through your blood. And when that runs through your blood, obviously, that is when the abundance flows. This energy can be so as master level energy as it is, and as incredible as it is, it obviously comes with its challenges, its hypersensitivities. We're putting together a support group, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm in my 11-2 month too. So it's
gosh.
I'm not in the 11-2 day though. That was yesterday. I'm on my 3-day today.
That is a perfect day to be doing a podcast.
I know.
Definitely did not want to do this yesterday. But yeah, so this is such a powerful freaking energy. When Val speaks, you know it's truth. So, and this is the thing with Val, she typically gets straight to the point and cuts straight to the heart about things because she's so much and such big energy that she doesn't have time. She's literally here on mission. She doesn't have time for fluff. So this is why she's such an epic human, and pink is really your color.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought I'd go with my soul frequency color, so I wore pink.
So great to have you here. This is going to be the first of many. I already know because this is just already so much fun. So thank you for joining us.
Yay! I'm so excited to be here. I just couldn't wait to be here. I think I've invited myself onto the podcast actually, but no problem. I don't have a problem with the self-invite, but thanks for having me. And I'm just thrilled. I'm thrilled to be with you on your podcast, in your space, but also speaking to people. So thank you.
Yeah, it's really amazing that we're here and that we're doing this. And I'm so excited to get into the journey of you getting to this place right now because it's being that 38112, you have got to, your voice is your power. And so broadcasting your truth across any and all frequencies and platforms as you possibly can is literally your life path. So this is so perfect. Now you, my friend, are many things. One of them is a neuroscientist, and you're also a mum of two incredible humans. Again, human questionable.
Two beings.
In
human bodies, yeah.
Yes, I love being able to have this kind of a conversation with a neuroscientist, which is not typical. So I'd love to hear from you because there's so much about you that we could talk for decades about. But if we focus in on this neuroscientist part, you're not a typical neuroscientist, are you?
No.
You're not a typical person. You're not a typical human. You're not a typical woman. There's nothing typical about you. But tell me a little bit about who you are as a neuroscientist.
Yes. Well, professionally speaking, I'm a behavioral neuroscientist. So that means I specialize in behavior, literally looking at people's behavior, not only people's behavior, let's just say behavior,
Behavior.
behavior overall, and what drives behavior. I'm talking like fear behavior, love as a behavior, any sort of action as a behavior. So I'm a behavioral neuroscientist. I hope that paints that kind of picture. And neuroscience is such a vast field, right?
Mm.
Like you could go to any neuroscientific conference and you'll see someone talk for an hour about 30 years of research that they've done on a particular topic.
Mm.
And it's like 1 millionth of what neuroscience spans. It's just
Mm.
massive. So although I'm a behavioral neuroscientist, I can also say that I know fuck all in neuroscience. I really don't, but I know a little bit more than most people.
Yeah,
Okay. So I think I'm humble in that sense. Well, I'm not very humble, but I'm humble in knowing that I don't know so much, but I probably know a little bit more than average people that haven't done a degree or research in neuroscience. Yeah, so that is to say, I'm a behavioral neuroscientist. I trained in that area at the University of Melbourne. That's how I wound up in Australia. If you're kind of thinking, oh, this person doesn't sound Australian, well, I'm not. I am not. I'm many things of many backgrounds, and I came here to do that PhD. I actually started it in cancer research, like in brain cancer research, because I was fascinated by the brain, but then quickly I realized I don't want to do brain cancer. I want to do, neuroscience, brain stuff. And so I switched over and did the behavioral neuroscience degree. Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And I guess it makes a lot of sense because the human brain is vast within itself. Like we've been studying that forever and we still have no idea, really.
No, really not. Like, no idea. There's just so much unknown, but that's what makes it so exciting for, individuals like me that just want to learn and know stuff.
I forget that you're not from Australia. Like it's like you speak and I almost don't hear an accent anymore because I'm so in your world, you know?
Yeah.
So where are you from, Val? Can you just tell? Because people are like listening to this going, where is that? Is that American? Is that where are you from?
Yeah, that's
There's a mixed bag, right?
yes, I am a mixed bag. So even though, I am not from Earth, but I was born in this lifetime. I was born in Kaliningrad, which is a little part of Russia on the coast of the Baltic Sea. So that's where I was born. And then when I was 10, I immigrated to Montreal, so the French part of Canada with my mom.
Mm.
And I pretty much grew up there. So I speak French, Russian, and English. And hence you get this kind of mixture of an accent. And I came here 10 years ago. So I'm also, as you pointed out, getting very Aussie sounding, which I don't mind.
Yeah, no, you sound great. You still are very distinct in your accent, but
Mm,
I just know you so well that I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. You're not from here. I mean,
yeah.
in this physical reality.
Yeah, but that's so good that you even pointed that out because I think I've traveled or been so many places on Earth. It's kind of reflective of how my soul feels as well. Like I've been so many
Yeah.
places. Even on Earth, I've lived, like literally lived, a part of my life. I'm 37 now, so it's like 10 years I lived in Russia, then 10 years, I lived in Canada. I've been here for 11 years, and then I traveled for 6, let's say. But like I've lived in many places in those different places. So from many places in that sense too.
That's so great. That's so cool. And again, just so true to your numbers. Obviously, I know more about your numbers than just your ruling number. Um, and yeah. So cool. It's so, so, so cool. It's so perfect. I remember in our reading, actually, one thing that you said, which, by the way, I use as an example for people all the time that have a lot of specifically the five energy. One thing, I hope you don't mind me sharing, but
No, no.
one thing that you said that was so great in your reading when we were talking about that five energy was that you said that this was a part of me that constant moving around and changing and like dropping things and moving and this, like you said that this was a part of me that I thought was wrong, that I had to really invest in change and fix and get rid of, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was very validating. I mean, I kind of want to say something about it. Did you finish what you wanted to say?
Go, yeah, go, 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 go. Absolutely.
I'm like, you talk all the time on your podcast. Let me speak.
Uh,
So,
totally.
so if I sound eager, it's because I am. So, but yeah, well, look, that reading was awesome, and what you said there it was monumental actually, because I stopped feeling and feeding that, that, oh, I got to change this way of being that somehow I wound up being, which I didn't even wind up being that way. I was born that way with my numbers. I've got a lot of five energy, as I learned, and am learning from your numerology course that I'm in, which is boom. But yeah, I've got a lot of five energy, and it's like, great, let's bank on that. And
Mm,
when I'm done something, I'm done with it, and if I'm not, great.
mm.
But the ability to move through spaces, and it's awesome. I love that about me now. So before the reading, I was like, this is wrong, needs to be changed and annihilated. And now I'm like, this is really great.
Yeah.
Let's explore this. Yeah.
Yes, it's so, I use that example for people so often now when I do readings, and it resonates so deeply for them. And I'm just so grateful that I have that example to share with people because it really is a superpower. Like, I really relate that energy to it, like it's a superpower, and people don't think that it is for a long time. So, yeah, it's just so epic. And I just love hearing you share about your life and how you're so true to who you are at even a freaking numbers level, energy level. So, anyway, back to you, your journey to neuroscientist. So, to being a neuroscientist. So, you shared a little bit about like you started off as cancer research, but then you went into neuro. So, what, like, yeah, I just feel like you just didn't want to pigeonhole yourself into like just cancer. It was,
No. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I did a master's degree in interdisciplinary oncology, so cancer, but also interdisciplinary, not just brain cancer. So that was my interest for a little bit during that master's degree that I did in Vancouver. And then when I came here, brain cancer, so still connected to cancer research, which I was invested in at the time. But then there's this brain aspect that came into the picture now, and that was really fascinated. And 2 months into that PhD, things started to shift. And I was like, whoa, I'm not doing this for 4 years or a minimum of 4 years. Some PhDs go longer, but I was like, I'm not doing this for 4 years. No, like I'm going to find something that is worth me putting 4 years into. So I literally said, listen, I'm not doing this anymore to my supervisor at the time. And then I went on this kind of tracking not tracking, but on this research journey where I wanted to find something that was worth my time. And I did. I interviewed at a bunch of labs that researched different things, cancer, brain, different parts of the brain. And yeah, I wound up in a lab that studied behavior because that's what I was willing to study for 4 years minimum. And I did that, and it was awesome. It was actually a really, really great decision. And I'm thrilled I did it. And I loved that PhD, and I loved that lab and everyone in it. Like the best time ever.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so, so, so great. It's so awesome. And I'm glad that you did that too.
Seriously, imagine I would have, anyway, I can't even imagine. It's just not me. If I would have stuck it out, no, I just, no, no,
No, no,
it
no,
was
no.
time to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you're like, I need to choose something that's worth my time.
Oh, yeah.
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 That's so powerful. So again, that 38 energy. Like which I have been seeing freaking everywhere leading up to this interview, just so you know, everywhere, like everywhere I look. We watched the football last night and the scores were 38 something something. I'm like, oh,
It's
right.
coming.
It's going. So, okay, great. Awesome. So you then, so let's talk about how, so that is at a professional level, you're a behavioral neuroscientist, but that's not all you are. And you're definitely not a typical behavioral neuroscientist. So could you talk a little bit about your special flavor of behavioral neuroscientist or neuroscientist, full stop?
Sure, sure. So the special flavor that this pink 3811 neuroscientist is, pink soul. All right, that was a lot of jargon, but listen, I actually worked in the field, in the lab, right after I finished my PhD. I worked in the lab for 4 years. Yeah. And I did research. That's what a lot of neuroscientists do after following the completion of their PhD. And I did that and I loved it, studying neurodegenerative disorders. So that's your Parkinson's, motor neuron disease, Alzheimer's. And I was really into my project. And ultimately, I want to make a difference. That's kind of anything I do. I want to make a difference. And I felt like I was making a difference. And, I was working on a project and I just wanted to publish my research. And my supervisor at the time didn't feel the same way. He just wanted to get it to a perfect stage. And then I realized that that may take like 10 years or maybe 20 years, and I just felt really like, oh, come on, let's get this truth out there. And because I felt so suppressed, I ended up leaving. I was like, well, you're not, you're literally suppressing what I've got to say. So see you later. That's what happened in a nutshell. I left that place because I couldn't get what I researched out to the public, which now thinking back makes so much sense. I didn't know what my numbers were back then, but now that I know that I'm a 3A, and I'm like, oh my God, if I can't speak my truth, like, what the fuck was I doing there to start with? But
Totally.
yeah.
And I would also add that five combination that, when you feel suppressed or when the safety is threatened, the five energy kicks in. Where's the freaking exit? And I think it's so perfect that happened, because that truth you need to speak is so important for you. Like, that eight energy is all about abundance. So you cannot experience abundance in your life for you personally, but then also the abundance that's going to come for the world when you speak that truth can't happen if
Yes.
you're under a suppression.
Yeah. And it went beyond, just that particular, boss or even like that particular relationship. It was actually within the institute and within the University of Melbourne. Like, that's what I got, because when I went to people, I was like, no, actually, I want to get my research out of there, and I'm really determined, right? So I was like, I'll pull some strings and it's going to get out there. But I was just getting like suppression after suppression after suppression. I mean, I talked to external bodies, internal bodies. It was just like, I just could not get it out there. So I was like, well, I am going to leave. Like, if that's how things are going to roll, I'm not going to stay here suppressed like the rest of people who were willing to do that,
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's really insane that it's happening. Well, it's not insane, like, but I just didn't, you hear about things like, oh, patriarchy in the academic space, blah, blah, blah. But I've experienced it, like, and it's in this modern day and age, so to speak. And I was like, this is so not what I'm about. So I'm not doing this, Yeah.
That's such a shame. And it kind of highlights, where else are they doing this? Where else is this happening? Like, where there's amazing research that needs to come out, but it's all of this red tape, all of these, things that you have to. It's really frustrating because there must be so much just sitting there waiting.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, it takes, they say it takes 20 years from a discovery to become a therapy, which is really funny, right? Because like the vaccines came out in a second, even though no research was made. But that's what I mean. Like, I know that like it takes 20 years. So like, I'm like, okay, what?
Yeah.
When that happened, I was just like, okay. So I've got people feeding me on demand. You know.
As you should, Dr. Val.
But anyway, look, I digress. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
know that it takes 20 years to get something out. So when the COVID vaccines came out in like a year, I was just like, no, this is bullshit. I'm not doing that. I'm not buying this. I know that's not real, you know?
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
refreshing to hear you say that, to hear a neuroscientist
Yeah.
say that, right? Because there were a lot of experts that came out and said, no, 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 this thing is absolutely safe. And from the perspective of someone who's actually, I mean, you don't necessarily have to be someone who has like studied I don't even know, like vaccines or, any like specifically that to know that, hey, like actually research takes a really long time.
It really does. And you know what else about what the other thing about research is that 99% of the time it fails. Your experiments will fail 99% of the time. So
Mm,
I'm like, I'm not going to be a mass fucking experiment that's going to fail.
totally. Totally. That's crazy. That's really wild. So
Yeah.
refreshing to hear you say this because, yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad. I'm so, so, so glad. Oh, so yeah, it's the truth, isn't it? And now it's kind of all coming out.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But yeah, we can talk about other things, but I'm glad we talked about it because it was there to say.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just really refreshing, as I said 2 or 3 times already, to hear
Yeah.
you say that from your perspective of it just there's no logic behind it whatsoever. And absolutely was and it was just such an intense freaking time. Like, I
It
mean,
was. And you know,
really messed
yeah,
up.
it was messed up. And also I think being a scientist also added a layer to because I'm a scientist, so I want to believe in research. I want to believe in science. And I think from my observation, science, a lot of scientists did go that way. And it's like, well, I'm a scientist, so I believe the research. So let's do this, kind of thing. So I get that context and how you can come from that. But I'm like, well, I'm also a scientist and I know that shit doesn't get done so quick. So, so no. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really. And what was that like for you? I mean, I know you said that little piece now, but what was it like for you? Because there were mandates and like,
Yeah. Yeah, well, the universe plays out in really interesting ways, isn't it? Because the mandates came in October 2021 and I left in August 2021.
so
Yeah.
that's that psychic energy that I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
exactly. I left and I was like, so I didn't even have to explain. I just left, I was like, nah, I'm not playing this game.
That's so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I left and then I worked from home for 2 years, in another area completely, like, which I'm also passionate about, right? Like I worked in the personal development space for two
Mm.
years after that, which had nothing to do with neuroscience. And whilst working in that space, I really started to miss the neuroscience. And I was like, no, I got to do what I'm all about, which is well, not all, but a big part of my life is being a neuroscientist. So I couldn't not do it. And so I came back, but I'm coming back with a bang because I'm not doing academia anymore. And that's, I guess, the special flavor. So let's look around back to the special flavor neuroscientist, because I am like a freelance neuroscientist, if you can call it that, because I'm not doing academia. I'm literally bringing the skills and the knowledge of a neuroscientist to the public space. And that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it through collaborating with different people, like different experts. I just did that article for the Law Institute of Victoria. So literally talking about the neuroscience and the well-being of lawyers and their clients, or I do a lot of workshops in the yoga space, talking about the neuroscience of meditation or breath work, things like that. So I'm literally interested in all of it, but through the lens of neuroscience. And that's what I'm offering people now versus working in a lab researching one specific thing that I can't even fucking publish because somebody else wants it done a particular way.
Oh my gosh, it's so great. It's like, yeah, you absolutely have set yourself free I love that you're calling yourself a freelance neuroscientist. It's so perfect because it's literally free. It's on your terms, and that's exactly what needs to happen, which is
Yeah.
amazing because it means your voice doesn't get shut down or suppressed or dimmed or
That three energy, baby, it ain't going anywhere. I've
it ain't
tried.
going anywhere.
I tried.
No,
I
it's just getting
tried.
louder and louder and louder. It's so amazing. And getting to the point that you're at now, like you've been through such a journey, right? Like you are in your postpartum right now.
Yes. Yes. I've got a 9-month-old Baba. He's so cute.
So
And
cute.
I know. And this postpartum, so of course I've got my 8-year-old, and during that time I was still doing my PhD, and I literally went back to my PhD within 4 months of having the baby. How was that crazy? I
Yeah,
did that.
wow. You
And
are. I don't even know how
yeah,
you had a brain to do that.
I think I just did it on autopilot. I really didn't have a brain. But I did it on autopilot. And this time around, I was like, no, I'm going to do it differently. And I have, I have. I'm a different person, different baby, everything, right? And I've taken 9 months. He's 9 months now. And I'm already doing all the stuff, right? But
Yeah.
it's not 4 months, it's 9 months. 9 months.
Yeah,
But
it has
yeah,
been building though. I will say it has been building.
correct. Correct, Mundo. It really has. So I
Yeah.
can't sit still is what I'm saying. I have to I have to have a finger in every cup because I've got 7 numbers in my grid, but
Seven different numbers and freaking, oh my gosh. Yeah, that was nuts. I remember that the night before that session I did a reading and I was like, this person I was doing a reading for had like 5 different numbers and she was like, is that a lot? And I was like, yeah, that's a lot. I mean, the most you can have is seven. I don't think I've ever read for someone with 7 numbers.
next minute, hey,
Next minute, there's 2 people in the course with 7 different freaking numbers. So if you're listening and you're hearing Val and you hear this like high level frequency and it's like moving and it's really kind of fast paced and epic and like intense almost like in like the best way possible, obviously, because if you're listening, you're also feeling so uplifted by this conversation, right? This is what it feels like to be around someone who's 38112 ruling number and has 7 different freaking numbers. So the amount of numbers in your birth date does matter. Most people don't pay attention to that. Anyway, enough about the numbers. Back to you because I can
thank
talk
you.
about that
But I
for
also can't shut up because I'm obviously in your course, and to whoever is listening to this that has no idea about numerology, y'all got to get educated. Seriously, it's juicy. It is so juicy.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I really I'm like, do I think it's the be all and the end all? Like, no, I don't. I absolutely don't. But I do believe that it's basic knowledge that everybody should just have access to. Like,
Yes.
we're all born with numbers and we go through life like just blindfolded by what any of that. There's so much gold. And
Yes.
I love that you're learning it because I know that you're going to bring some kind of this is why I had to teach the course because I'm just like, it's just got to get out there in all the different ways. And you're adding neuroscience and numerology. Like, tell me about this. Where are you at with this? You don't have to talk about it yet, but you do have a course coming out, and I'm fascinated to know all about that. So,
Yeah, it all does tie in together. I mean, I just, followed my psychic ability by by registering myself into your course. And that's kind of, you know what? That is how I live my life. You want to call it whatever you want to call it, but it is the 11-2 energy. It's just like I follow that kind of knowing, I just know, yeah, that I need to do something. And I just knew I had to do the numerology course. And now that I'm doing it, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe like I waited this long to do it. Because as a neuroscientist, aka a scientist, numerology makes a lot of fucking sense because it is numbers. It is numbers. It's actual numbers. It's not like fluffy. I mean,
mm,
you can make anything fluffy, but numerology is very straightforward in that sense. And I like that because I'm a scientist and I am straightforward. And I like that about numerology. I think the two pair up really, really well.
mm.
Not that they only start with two, a numerology, neuroscience. No, no. Um, yeah, they both start with new.
New.
And
Exactly.
yeah, and do numerology and neuroscience, and you'll create a new you. But it's amazing. I think the two pair up. I do have a plan to actually pair them together in the future in some sort of offering. The course that I have coming up doesn't have any numerology in it.
Well, you
It
haven't finished the
doesn't.
course yet, so we are getting a little ahead of
That is true. I
ourselves.
haven't even launched it. So just you wait. And that's right. I'm still in the latter parts of writing the ending. So there may be numerology in it. You're right. You are right. You are intuitive. You're a 3, so you're right. I might include some numerology in it at the end. But
But you're not done with the numerology course either.
oh, that's what you were saying too. Yes, I'm not done with the numerology course either. Yeah, that's right. I'm not done preparing the course that I'm offering at the end of September. I'm still like the last little modules I'm kind of, playing around with. There's a set of modules that I want to teach for sure, but
Yeah.
the last one is like up in the air, so to speak. It's an open-ended discussion, so we can discuss many things.
That's so great. That's so great. And I think that's
Yeah.
really important to have something open-ended in what you're offering because that is your energy. You've got to like actually go with the flow and not have it be,
Yeah.
like this with your energy type.
Yeah, I like a plan, but I also like expansion. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally, totally. Oh, that expansion energy. So I can feel that so strongly with you. So great. So
So
let's
yeah, I don't
talk.
know if I answered your question, but yeah, I don't even know what
uh,
the question was anymore. I mean, we just went places. Yeah,
Well, I
we
don't
went
even know
spaces.
if I asked a clear question, to be honest. Tell me about the course. I'm so excited about this.
I'm excited too. So this is my first offering, and well, of this kind, of this sort, and I'm literally, it's going to be an online course,
Yeah.
6 modules,
Yeah.
6 lessons, if you will, 6 consecutive weeks, and it's not going to be long. It's going to be an hour and a half each session, and we can stick around and ask questions. But I don't want to do this whole like 3 hour thing. Like that's so fucking long.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
I
I'm,
know.
yeah, I'm not doing this 3 hours per class thing. It's going to be an hour and a half. And on different topics, we'll start off with brain plasticity. So, neuroplasticity. So, the capacity of your brain to change itself. Yeah.
Mm.
Which now is like a common thing that people hear, but it's also like a fairly recent development, like the amount of attention that it's getting and the amount that's getting in, I think as well is very recent because now people are actually open to, oh yeah, the brain can change itself. Like, let's look into that.
Yeah, well,
And
that's really interesting. Sorry to interrupt, but like,
yeah,
yeah, you hear the term neuroplasticity, but for me, I'm just going to ask the dumb questions. What does it actually mean?
yeah. Yeah, no, good. So, what it means is the capacity for your brain to change itself, alter itself according to its environment.
That's wild. So that's actually wild if you really sit and contemplate that. And, like obviously, I have even said myself, like your neural pathways, you can like wire new ones and all of this kind of stuff. But like,
There's a child in the room opening doors.
I love that. I'm glad it's a child because I was like, you have some
Things
ghosts
moving. I'm
around
practicing telekinesis right now. Oh my God. Okay, Leo, go on now.
That never happened.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's what it's like to be a mum and a neuroscientist doing a podcast.
It's perfect. It's so perfect.
I'll close it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love how straight you are about it. It's like your brain actually changes itself, like the physical.
Yeah, physically changes itself. New neuronal pathways, new circuits, like tentacles, little dendrites grow on neurons if you've changed your environment or you learn something new.
So
You
can
know,
I,
us,
sorry, you go.
yeah. Yeah, us going through the numerology course is causing neuroplasticity in the students' brains, but also in your brain, because you're now faced with like a new situation. You've never taught this class before to this set of students, and you're learning. So whenever you learn something new, your brain changes itself. So it's like a chicken and an egg thing, right? Because it's like, are you doing the changing by initiating the learning, or is the brain just changing itself as a
Mm.
result?
That's fascinating. Fascinating. Okay, so when I'm doing readings with people,
Mhm.
one thing I say to them is that, the numbers that you have, think of them like channels, right? You've got Val's born on the 25th, right? So you've got the 2 channel and you've got the 5 channel
Yeah.
and all the other channels that you've got. But we'll just take those 2 as an example. You can do things to block those channels, but ultimately the channels are flowing to you whether you're operating in alignment with them or not. You can do things to unblock those channels by
Yes.
doing things to operate in alignment with your energy type, but also using like self-affirmations and these things. So,
Yes.
what is the neuroscience behind that?
Great question. Well, with self affirmations, let's say when you speak something, yeah, because there's one thing thinking something. And by the way, when you think something, that also alters your brain. Because if you think enough of one thing and it becomes like this consecutive, constant, overpowering thought, your brain will reorganize itself so you think that thought all the time.
Wow.
But speaking that thought into existence or into reality, that is even more potent to solidifying that particular loop or circuit. Let's just say a thought becomes a belief. Yeah, if you keep on thinking about it. And then if you say it, it's like becomes the truth. But all it is just like a loop, a circuit in your brain, a bunch of neurons connected together. I like to think about it as an electrical circuit, like literally an electric. Oh, you're an electrician, so you
I
would
was
know.
That's literally what I was picturing in my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
yes, it's like an electrical circuit, and it is because it is electricity, right, in the brain. It's electrical impulses that pass through the neurons. So it's an electrical circuit in your brain made up of neurons, and it loops over and over and over again when you think one thing over and over and over again. So
Mm,
if you do these affirmations, you keep on saying that. I mean, that's even how you become you. You know, when you're born, like you're a baby, you don't even know what the fuck you are, right?
yeah.
And at some point, you hear that your name's Val or Georgina, like, hey, Georgina, so many times. At some point, that forms a circuit in your brain. And
Yeah.
you're like, I'm Georgina. But that is just a circuit in your brain. It's not that you are. It's like a loop in your brain that tells you who you are. But the more you say it, the more you believe it, the more real it becomes. So in
Mm.
that sense, everything is just a circuit in the brain. Like all your beliefs, your understandings, who you think you are, who you think other people are, is like a loop in the brain.
And the loops can be unlooped and then re-looped into other loops.
Correct, which is what neuroplasticity is. You just explained it much better than I did. That's what neuroplasticity is. They can be unlooped, re-looped, double looped, triple looped, and yeah,
You
like
don't
that.
want
That's
to,
what neuroplasticity is.
but I don't think, yeah, you don't want to triple loop those loops.
No, no.
You want to have plasticity, right? You want to be able to unloop and reloop whenever you please.
Yeah, yeah. So that's basically module one.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's so cool. And so, like, so freaking fascinating. So, what I'm saying to people that comes to me just intuitively
Mhm.
is neuroscience, basically.
Basically, yeah. And that's another reason why I'm doing this freelance neuroscience thing, because a lot of people that I speak with, like yourself, and it's like you guys know neuroscience, but you just need a neuroscientist to say it in
Yeah.
in in maybe in another way, just so that you get validated and what you already know and your truth gets validated. That's I think one of the not I think actually that's one of the intentions behind me doing what I'm doing is to validate you from this neuroscientific perspective, because everything that I know will actually Look, most of the time it will validate what people say. And I've done this with you, like we just did it now,
Mm.
live. I've done it with other people, people that are talking about neurodiversity, people that are talking about breath work. It's like, you know what you're saying, but I'm just validating what you're saying through science and neuroscience. Yeah.
It's so epic. It's so, so cool. And it is very validating, as you said, because sometimes I do just go off on these tangents, especially in readings. It's like this channeling starts to happen, and I don't know where I'm pulling this stuff from. And then I'm thinking, am I just spewing crap here? Like, what's coming out of my mouth? And then, yeah, so that's so, I love that you are literally bringing this to the people in a way that the people can actually comprehend it. Like, that's so, it just feels like science and being a scientist and all of these things for a lot of people. And even for myself, especially, like it's just a little out of my reach. And it feels a little bit like, oh my gosh, I have to like study for such a long time just to be able to understand the the wording, let
Yeah.
alone like, because how how it's I don't know, communicated in these articles and stuff. It's like, what
Oh, yeah.
language are you even speaking? Just give me the summary and okay.
Yeah, and and part of my job is literally like it's perfect because it is like speaking a different language, speaking the neuroscience language. Part of my job is just translating. Like
Mm.
I'll read an article, and to me, I speak the language, so I can just translate it into English. Here it says that if you do enough of this happens.
Yeah, you should also add science to your list of languages that you speak. Oh, you can also add numerology to that too.
Yes,
Because it
yes,
really
yes,
is.
yes.
And that's also validating for me as well, because I am like you being a neuroscientist and saying, yeah, I have to translate the stuff that is written is validating because I'm like, is it me? Am I dumb that I can't
Oh,
like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's
no.
so,
No, 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 no. So yeah, no, you're not. You're super smart, and no, you're not dumb. It's just the articles they're written. This is the thing about neuroscience that's very incestuous and science. It's like we study for a really long time to then learn this language that we then speak amongst ourselves. Like, we go to conferences with hundreds of other neuroscientists. We just talk that language. And then we publish these papers, and only neuroscientists can read it. Like, even though the research that we're doing has good in it, but nobody fucking understands it unless they speak the language. Like, that's so dumb. That's dumb.
that
That's dumb.
that is dumb.
So it is. And I don't do that anymore. I'm like, no, I'm actually going to bring the neuroscience to the people because what the fuck's the point of speaking a language when only a closed off community of people can understand what you're saying?
Mm, I'm starting to think
Yeah.
conspiratorial about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah.
Ah, that is so cool. Well, this course is so, so, so exciting. And this is like obviously just the beginning, right? Like this
Yes.
is just the
Yes.
beginning.
It's just the beginning. And then that was just, module one. And then and two maybe. And then modules 3 and 4, I'm going into epigenetics. So when you said like you channel things,
Yeah.
well, epigenetics is like it has to do with your DNA and how your DNA interacts with the environment around you to sort of come through. So, we can say you channel from source. That's from whatever how your higher self, source, something, right? The
Mm.
unity. I don't know. You call it whatever you want to call it. Some people call it God, whatever. But I think also all of that is already in you, and epigenetics and DNA is what I'm going to explore this through because there's so much dormant, like sleeping DNA within you that's passed to you from your ancestors that
Mm.
I'm not surprised you're like, I'm channeling shit. I'm like, this. This is within your DNA that's just now starting to unravel, to open up for whatever reason. So that's the other part that I'm exploring in that course is epigenetics. Like it's all your ancestors, all that knowledge is already within you.
That's fascinating. And so that is what epigenetics is because I'm like, what's epigenetics, Val? Let's start
Yeah,
there.
it's the capacity for your genetic code, your DNA to actually be expressed in a I've got a child doing funny things around me again. All right. Give me a moment here. He's gone. Epigenetics is so back to epigenetics. Leo, please. Thank you. That's the language I speak with my children. Add that to the list.
It is a whole language.
Yeah. But look, epigenetics, your DNA, is makes up your genetic code, your genes, your genetic code becomes your physicality, your body. Every cell has your DNA in it. But if you notice, not every cell becomes, the same type of cell. You have hair cells, which are different from your skin cells, which are different from your muscle cells, which are different from every other cell, but it's the same DNA. So epigenetics is what makes that same genetic code become a different thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So like so how your DNA turns into hair, turns into skin,
Yeah.
turns into all these other things.
Yeah, that's basically epigenetics. It got discovered by a woman in the 60s. Yeah.
So that's epic in itself. And I have to ask you this question because you said this to me kind of on the fly in a conversation that we were having, I think, on Instagram, of all places, in between our real shares.
Yes.
Is that so much of the science that we have now is actually not done on women. It's
Oh, yeah.
Can we talk about
No.
this? Because this is
Yeah.
huge.
Oh, yeah. Of course we can talk about it. I mean, there's not much to say than what you just said. A lot of that, that is the case. But again, I'll say it as a neuroscientist has done lots of research. A lot
Yeah.
of research gets done on male species. So whether and by the way, a lot of research gets done on animals.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear and it's hard to be with, but that is what's so.
Yeah.
And a lot of the animals used are males. And that used to be not even mentioned in the studies. It's like, hey, we found this, but they didn't say that they tested only males. But most of the time, that's the go-to. It's like now, maybe, there's a lot more diversity. Well, a lot more diversity. They're testing stuff on females too. That's the diversity. And then they're saying it, which is like, oh, fuck, really? You're now, celebrating what you should have been doing all along. Yeah.
That's really so messed up.
It's sexist. It's horrible. And it's inaccurate because, that's only half the population. And then you're saying your research findings are what the truth is.
For everybody.
Yeah, which is inaccurate. What's accurate is the research findings that you did in males is accurate. Yeah. Right. At this point in time.
Yeah. That's crazy. And is there a way to know what research has been done just on, because there's so many just blanket recommendations out there, like the recommendation of how much sleep we need to get. And I think this is what triggered you to say that, is because, they said that someone said that it's something between 7 and 9 hours, but
yeah, she's so cute. Lola.
I had the
She's gonna smudge everything.
I know. I had it going before, girl. Nothing's there for you. She's having her first bleed at the moment.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
She's extra sensitive. Anyway, like this recommendation of how much sleep we should all get, which was, if that's only based on men, I could only imagine that.
Yeah. So look, how you would know is you would need to look at the methods section within the research paper that you're looking at. I wouldn't look, I wouldn't even believe anybody saying anything like that. You need to look at the research, look at the research, look at what they investigated, who they looked at, along what timeline, did that research take a minute or was it across time and space, Yeah. Just really look at the methods. And if you don't understand, you should call me and I'll look at it. I'll look at it and I'll tell you. Yeah.
That's so great. That's so great. But yeah, that's really frustrating. That's not left my mind since you said that to me. I just could not. I was like, of course, I'm not shocked by these things anymore. But at the same time, I'm like, well, fuck.
Well, yeah, but look, You know what I was shocked by? Epigenetics. Back to that. You know what I was shocked by is that so women, we have two X chromosomes. Yeah. So women have X chromosomes, two X chromosomes, an X and an X. And guys, men, are born with an X and a Y chromosome. Yeah. However, get this. However, one whole X chromosome gets epigenetically modified, suppressed.
What?
Okay, to compensate for the fact that men only have one X chromosome. So that, yes, so that, look, I mean, genetically it does make sense because, multiple chromosomes can lead to disease and, lethal things. But it's like women are compensating starting from day one, from day sub-zero. One of our chromosomes just gets genetically, epigenetically suppressed. Yeah, that's what happens. One of the chromosomes actually gets epigenetically suppressed, and the genes on that chromosome don't get expressed because males only have one. So you got to compensate, to be able to be alive, basically.
Yeah.
So even though it makes sense on a biological level, if you think about it like from a philosophical level, I'm like, fuck. Like one whole chromosome suppressed.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I love that women have two X's because X obviously represents a six. Six is the divine feminine, and that the masculine has X
And Y.
and Y,
What's
which is
Y?
Y is 7.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a masculine.
Yeah. How
Oh,
interesting.
I know, so fascinating. This is what
Maybe I will do numerological ending at the end of epigenetics. So the X is a 6 energy. The Y is a 7 energy.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. Oh my gosh. So, can I ask a really dumb question?
Okay, but it's not a dumb question, but ask it. Yeah.
Why do men have to have an X?
Oh, did I freeze on your screen or did you freeze on mine?
Am I frozen?
Yeah. Am I frozen on yours?
No.
Oh, okay.
Hang
Well,
on.
anyway, you're frozen on mine, but I'll keep talking.
I'll just turn the video off and back on.
Okay, cool.
Back.
Yeah, you're back. You're
Okay.
back.
Perfect.
So why do men have an X chromosome? Because the majority of the genes that make us live are actually on the X chromosome. So in that sense, we are divine. The Y chromosome only has the male specific genes that make them, have things that they have as males. Yes. Yeah. The majority of the genetic code actually lives on the X chromosome. Yeah. So they have to have it, otherwise they wouldn't survive.
Yeah. I guess they come from us. So
yeah,
of course it makes sense, but
that's why ultimately, because most of the genes do live, they reside on the X chromosome. Yeah.
that's epic.
Yeah. It is epic. And the
They
majority
literally could not live without us, literally at this level.
No, yeah, no.
No
Cannot.
wonder why women were so revered back, and now so suppressed.
I think we're making a comeback.
We totally are. So cool. That is awesome, Val. That is so, so cool. And so, okay, tell me more about this course. What else do you cover? There's epigenetics and then
Well, yeah, I mean, see, there's like 3 sessions of brain plasticity and its applications for educators and healers, because that's ultimately who I am, who I'd like to have in the course or who I'd like to impart this wisdom to, so to speak. But I'm kidding. It's to everyone. Everybody should do the course anyway, regardless of whether they're a teacher or a healer. But I think especially within the educational arena, this would be very, very helpful for people to know, hey, whatever you're teaching is actually altering people's brains, and this is how it does it. And let's look at your specific subject and how it does that,
That's so cool. And
yeah,
I
so
like even mums are doing this. Like
yes,
fathers, mum, obviously fathers and mothers.
parents for sure, or people that are fascinated by learning and how we learn, like all the threes of the world, basically.
Threes and sevens.
Yeah, and sevens. True that. True that. They should be in the course. This is a prerequisite.
If you have a
Numerology
3 or a
course.
7, you should sign up to this course.
Yes, which is $750 because 7 + 5 is 12 is 3. And there's a 7 in there and a 5 in there. How could you not do that? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's
But
awesome.
yeah, look, the thing is, that's what that's going to be about, and also the epigenetics, because I really got interested in this whole epigenetics thing. Like, it's because I am interested in ancestry and how we channel things, and that's my psychic energy or 11-2 energy or whatever. But I also see the scientific basis of it, and that's what I'm exploring through the epigenetics part of the course. So yeah, it'll be 3 sessions neuroplasticity, 2 sessions epigenetic, and 1 session up for grabs.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And so this epigenetics thing,
Mm.
when you talk about ancestry and then how your DNA turns into the other
Yeah.
cells, so like I think I just got it in my head, like, and then all the looping and the unlooping, how much of that looping is actually from ancestry and from
Yes.
anywhere else.
Yes. Yes. So your literally, your genetic code, you're made up, half of it comes from your parents and their parents and so on and so forth. So there is things that are passed down through generations. And, in research, there was a lab right next to us researching meth addiction, right? And they found that if these mice were addicted to methamphetamine, so ice, then their generations forward lines down the track will exhibit like behaviors impacted by that addiction. So, yeah, if your great grandmother smoked crack or did meth, basically not good for you.
No, starting to make sense.
That was just that example. It kind of comes to mind because I work right next to that addictions lab, and that was really fascinating for me. I was like, "Whoa, that's like wow!" But then that's just one study with one thing. Okay, what about all the other? What about maybe she did a lot of yoga? How does that impact you?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I'm like, so that could then apply to all the different things. So that's why it always like people who are amazing singers tend to come from people, whether it's their parents or somewhere in the line they were singers, or my great grandmother was a gypsy doing readings for psychic readings, and then this is now something that's in what I do, or stuff like this.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. It's that kind of magic. There's the magical ingredient, like aspect to it, isn't it? That something you are literally exhibiting something in your genetics that a person was doing so long ago, and it's still within you. But the thing that you said about singing, see, it's 10% genetics, 90% environment. So the environment that you surround yourself with is what will activate those genes or suppress those genes.
oh my gosh, this is exactly what I teach.
Oh, hey, again, back to my neuroscience. What do you know?
This is exactly what I teach. I love that. I'm going to say that it's 10%
Genetics,
genetics and
90% environment.
90% environment. Oh my gosh. That is huge. That is huge. So we are constantly taking from our environment, creating loops and then cells, and turning that into how we show up based on our environment. We're literally fish. We're literally fish growing to our environment.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
really amazing, because it totally tips everything upside down in terms of we really are led to believe that it's all us. I'm messed up because of me. It's all me, and there is definitely some level of accountability and taking responsibility for that. But I think when you can zoom out a little bit and actually go, no, 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 90% of how you're showing up is based on the environment that you're in.
Yes. Yeah.
That's huge.
It's good, but bad. Simply put, yeah.
Yeah.
In simple terms, in simple non-neuroscientific terminology, it's good but bad, but
It's
good.
good.
Yeah.
In the world of good and bad, it's good and bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, what's it like being a neuroscientist and still having to be a human and operate with all of this knowledge simultaneously, being a
Oh my
human and existing in the
gosh.
world and having human stuff to deal with on a daily basis?
Yeah. Look, it's many things. It's a challenge, but also it's really great. Like
Yeah.
it's fun, it's challenging. I think that just comes with being human, given
Yeah.
that, some of us are human, some of us not so much.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. It's the same for me. It's like people ask me this, like, oh, about numerology and knowing the numbers and stuff like that. Life must be so, I'm like, knowing it does make it more challenging because it's like then I have to use it,
Right? Oh my
It's like,
gosh.
when my husband's being a certain way and I'm like, oh, it's because of the energy you're under. Like, does that mean that in that moment I respond exactly how he needs? No, it's really frustrating because I want to be mad. I want to have all these reactions and, all of this stuff as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
knowledge is power, but knowledge is also responsibility.
Oh, you just like literally took the words out of my brain. Yeah, telepathy. I love it. Knowledge is power is what I was going to say. It really is. I think that's the answer to to your question is I think that's how it is. Knowledge is powerful. Being aware of things is very powerful, but it does come with responsibility. So if you want to be, an irresponsible fuckwit, then don't learn anything. But
Don't do my course. But if you don't want to be an irresponsible, that should be your tagline.
Oh, wonderful. That's so appealing. Let's just invalidate everyone before they start.
Don't do my course if you want to be a fuckwit.
No, but you know what I mean. I
Oh,
just,
I
I,
love
I think
it.
I languaged it really badly, and now it's going to be on a podcast. But that's okay.
That's
Look, I'm willing to own that one. So what I'm saying is, that's okay. You don't have to know everything, but knowledge does come with this. Yeah, that's how I feel as a neuroscientist. Is that I do have to apply what I know ultimately. Otherwise, it makes it futile.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, so good. Well, was there anything else you wanted to share and leave us with before we come to a close of this incredible session? I could really talk to you about so many different things, but
I was like, I was just getting started, but yeah, we now have to finish. What? Yeah. So now
we can keep going for as long as you want to keep going. Like I'm mindful of how long.
no, we should really stop and give people a breather, and then I'll come back in a couple of sessions. Did you like that self invite at the end?
It's so perfect. This is how you're going to get where, to all the places that you're going to get, Val. Like this is such the beginning, and I'm so freaking excited for where you are going and where you are taking. Like this is revolutionary what you're doing here, and I don't know anyone that's doing this. You
I'm
know,
really excited because also it's not like I'm doing this. I think there's a bunch of people doing quote unquote this, and this is just my iteration of it.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
but yes, and you are very special and very unique, and that is very attractive. Obviously, you're very attractive aesthetically, and of course, it makes so much sense as if you also wouldn't be that.
It's my alien genes. It's the genetics. It's the 10%.
Like that mermaid, like, I'll pull you in.
Yeah.
It's so great. I'm sure you were a mermaid as well at some point.
I'm sure too. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, but this is so epic. And I just think like giving the gift of validation is so powerful for people. And it's the one thing that a lot of people crave is actual validation, and I lived a lot of my life thinking I can't teach anything. Who am I? Like I have to have I have to go off and become a neuroscientist myself to be able to do all
Gosh, no.
blah blah
Yeah.
blah. It took me a long time to be able to trust the stuff that was just coming through to me naturally and
Yeah.
intuitively and all this kind of stuff. And that validation is so powerful. So, so powerful. It could literally be the difference between someone following their dreams and not, and you bringing that to people is like, that's your legacy, right? That's the whole reason you're here.
Yeah, it really is. Now that you've painted that picture, it's definitely one of the reasons I'm here for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, because like, nobody has to go and do this PhD and get all this knowledge and stuff. You can just call me. Just use me up. Because I've done it, you know what I mean? And I'm not like, this is the thing as well. Like, I mean, it takes something, yeah, to do that amount of studying and this and that, and I've done a lot of it. And it is an experience in and of itself, but I think it's credited in like this sleazy way in our society. But I just like, dude, you know what? I have it, use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. That's what I see it as, is like a really useful tool to validate other people's findings if they don't want to do a fucking PhD in neuroscience.
Yeah. But it gives them
Let's work
access.
together. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let's just work together. Let's not be like, oh, I've got a PhD and you don't, and this and that. It's like, no, let's just work together, people.
It's amazing. It's really, really incredible. It's so powerful and it's so true to you. And it's literally giving people the freedom to then go off and speak their truth as well. Like the freedom and the confidence and like it's everyone needs to freaking do your course. Everybody has to do your course. Like it's impossible to not be in an exchange with you energetically or otherwise and not come away freaking feeling like you're the queen of the mountain and conquer anything. So
Oh, that's so brilliant. That's going to be that was my intention. So thank you for vocalizing and verbalizing that.
thank you. Thank you, Val. So tell people where they can find you, how they can sign up to your course, when it starts, all of the details you want people to know so that they can just, and of course, we'll put all the information and all the links in the show notes as well. So to give
Yes.
easy access, but let's hear it from Dr. Val Rytova.
All right. All right. Well, you can find me on social. So I'm mainly active on Instagram as love, LOVE underscore of underscore brain, like love of brain. So
Mm.
love of brain on Instagram, and I post like lots of little cool clips about epigenetics, this and that, like through the lens of neuroscience. So it's entertaining. So if you're into this kind of stuff, definitely follow me on there. And in terms of the course, I offer it on my website. So it's drvalrytova.com.
Mm.
That's the website. You can go on it. You can literally see it right there. And there's a link to book the course if that's what you want to do. And also there's a link to the little flyer of all the details, like session by session.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's
you can do that
awesome.
there.
And it's all online, it's all via Zoom.
It's all going to be delivered online starting September 23rd. Yeah, so that's in just a little over a month and 2 weeks. Yeah, month and 2 weeks, 6 weeks from now. Yay. And
Yeah.
and it'll be on a Monday night, so on the 23rd, and then the next one will be on the 30th, like that for 6 weeks straight with me on Zoom for an hour and a half every time, starting at 7 p.m. Melbourne, Sydney, that kind of time zone.
Perfect. And is it being recorded, Val, or is it's what you get is
Mhm.
what you get, which is perfect. You haven't decided yet.
I haven't decided yet. I don't know. I don't
That's,
know yet.
that's great.
We might see. I like kind of how things unravel themselves. I might record it. I think it could be useful for people, whether they miss a session so they can watch it. But I also like spontaneity, so I might not. Sorry, that wasn't a very straight answer, but I don't know.
No, that's great. That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Awesome. Well, Val, thank you so much for joining me on the show. This has been so much fun. We definitely have to do this again because there's so much to cover within neuroscience. And once you've kicked off your course, there'll be the next thing that we need to talk about. And I want to hear about how the course went, right?
Yes.
So, yes.
Yes. No, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, I'm just like, I feel like a lot of things are going to start unraveling and it's just going to lead, one thing is going to lead to the next, to the next, next. Some people call it synchronicity or whatever, but that's kind of my general prognosis about this whole thing. Yeah.
It's so awesome. And I can't wait to be a guest on your podcast.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. I love this. And I'll talk to you soon.